Shalom Israel. Once again, I'd like to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash, forever and ever. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of great millstones. Salutations to the hopeful elect, beginning with the 144,000. Lord willing, this lesson be edifying, straight to the point. And I will entitle this one, Follow Not the Multitude. Follow Not the Multitude. All right, so this was inspired from a video I saw a couple days ago. This why you can't give New Yorkers one hot day, from the channel Young P. And fair use. I'm gonna play a couple clips, a couple small portions of this video, and it just put me in the oh, matter of fact, I think the title is gonna be a group of ninjas versus a group of brothers. All right, so yeah, like I said, fair use. So first of all, I'm gonna show you a group of ninjas. Right, this is a bunch of YNs. All right, and I'm going to just play it.
Calmly off the spray.
All right, so from there, I'm gonna go here. This is Matthew chapter 7, verse 13. It says, "Enter ye in at the straight gate." Right? What's the straight gate? The path. The path that the Holy Spirit will set the elect on. All right, the 1/3 beginning with the 144,000. The path of destiny, right? That's set for the few chosen that will be exempt from judgment in the day of the Lord's judgment. All right, and will inherit the kingdom of heaven once Yahweh Shai makes his second return, physically and literally saving these few chosen from the thermonuclear destruction that is imminent. So it says, "Enter ye in at the straight gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction, and many there be which go in thereat." So remember that word "many," right? So you got the elect versus the world. All right. You have the few versus the many. All right. You have the 1/3 of the nation of Israel that will be saved, which is very few compared to so you have the 144,000, which is all men, all prophets, all men of the Lord, and then you got the multitude, which is the rest of the 1/3, men, other men, women, and children that believe. All right. So 144,000 and the multitude, separate from the world, okay, and in itself, it's going to be it's a large crowd, but compared to the earth's population, compared to the all of the nation of Israel that would be alive on earth once the thermonuclear destruction hits. All right, it's going to be very few compared to the rest. All right, 2/3 of our people are going to be destroyed with these other heathen nations, with these heathen nations, for being caught up in a heathenistic mindset or mentality, all right, choosing to remain being Israelite foreigners, all right, and they're going to be led to receive that microseed, all right, that microseed, which is the charagma, the fulfillment of the prophecy of the MOTB, all right, and they will be marking themselves for destruction. So it says, enter ye in at the straight gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction, and many there be which go in thereat. So this is instructions. This is a sign a sign pointing towards where to find a truth in the earth, all right, in these last days, in order to be delivered, in order to receive salvation and inherit the kingdom of heaven. It says, because straight is the gate and narrow is the way which leadeth unto life, right, everlasting life, new bodies, all right. Some will have to be, very few will have to be martyrs, all right, and the rest of the elect, which the martyrs will be somewhat, will be saved, before the those who will not be will not be deleted for this truth, all right, and just saved, literally saved, beamed up on the chariots. The martyrs will be on the chariots before the those who will not be deleted for this truth. But it says because straight is the gate and narrow is the way that leadeth unto life. Either no matter how the kingdom of heaven, inheriting the kingdom of heaven is inheriting a brand new body in which the laws will be written in our inward parts, all right, programmed in the spirits and minds of the elect, all right, and they won't be able to, they will which will prevent them from being capable of sinning, all right. The wages of sin is death, right? That's the only reason why people are deleted. People get old, if they don't die from any other, if they don't pass away any other way, eventually they just grow old, all right, because of sin, though, okay. But that's going to be no more with the nation of Israel, all right, once the kingdom of heaven is established, okay. For 2/3 of the nation of Israel too, it's just going to be a different process. They're going to be put to death for their wickedness, and they're going to be reincarnated, regenerated, all right, reborn through the actual process of being birthed by a woman's womb, all right, through the elect that will that are first drafted in, the first draft of the kingdom. So, right, life versus death, a path of life, right, which is very smaller than the path of death, all right. The path of life is to be spiritually minded. The path of death is to be carnally minded, all right. Okay. Oh yeah. So right. So the few versus the many, right? And then it gets into beware the false prophets, but I'll probably come back to that, right? Because that's one of the ways of noticing a group of false prophets as well, all right. Following the crowd, all right. Following the money. Anyways, so I'm gonna bring this back one more time, right, for edification's sake. This is why you can't give New Yorkers one hot day, right? And so because 3 days ago, it was on the East Coast. It was this week, this week the weather been up and down. It'll be somewhere probably in the 40s or 50s one day, and then on this day I think it was like 80 degrees, 79, something like that. All right, and Jake hibernates in the winter and show their ass in the summer. All right, soon as it start getting warm, these little hoes, they put on fucking they can't wait to put on some those Daisy Dukes, those coochie cutters, those little ass shorts that show they ass cheeks, right? And they belly shirts, and they sports bras, and they with they cleavage all out. And these niggas, they can't, these YNs, they can't wait to these little hoes start doing that, so they could go chasing them. So this is a group of ninjas, YNs in particular, right?
Highly off the spray. Highly off the.
And they doing a bunch of folly, a bunch of, it's just, it's where there's a multitude, there's confusion. All right. There's also a bunch of wickedness, a drug using, drug dealing, a lot of adultery being committed. All right. A lot of people get deleted, and where there's, after going out to these nightclubs, after going out to, anywhere where a multitude, because part of what attracts a multitude is trends. All right. And everyone wants to be cool, everyone wants to be popular, and it starts in school. There's always a popular crowd, the jocks, the crowd that follow the sports players. All right, the athletes, the one, the crowd that follows the group of students who keep up with the trends, the latest trends, the latest fashions. All right, which is usually the less affordable, shoes or clothing. All right, the name brands. All right, those getting whoever got the latest phone, right? Whoever got the most followers and likes, and getting that vainglory, that attention on social media. All right, and there's always some type of entertainment, some type of fighting going on. All right, these crowds attract wickedness. These crowds attract wickedness. They attract sins being committed. All right, and that's why, right, anywhere where there's sin, there's judgment. All right, there's someone getting seriously hurt or deleted. All right, someone being exposed, for there's always some type of drama. Someone getting caught sneaking, doing some shit that they're not supposed to be doing. You know, people get arrested. You know, so it's not wise to follow the multitude. All right, you can't. It's a bunch of confusion. You can't. You know, it's much easier to lose track of people, to get. You know, you might be with a crowd of people, right? And next thing you know, you don't know. You got to call the people that you was with because you done lost track of them. You know, y'all got separated. So hold on. I don't want to play this whole thing, right? So I guess this was like some type of pop-up meet party shit or whatever in Salakia. Like I said, Lord willing, this be edifying.
I'm not trying to get hit with a bottle, I ain't gonna lie.
Nigga, ain't nobody give a fuck about you, nigga. You talking about he not trying to get hit with a bottle like nigga. They talking about not trying to get hit with a bottle.
It's just standing around, waiting for someone to, you know, our people are compared to as sheep, you know, and you know, they almost follow anything. You know, you got a crowd of sheep, and you throw a rock. You know, if one of those sheeps run towards that rock, the whole flock gonna follow. You know, just like a flock of geese or baby ducks. You know, they wherever they mom goes, you know, they go. All right, and that's how our people, the masses of our people, 2/3 of our people, that's how they operate. All right, and they're standing around, you know, right here they standing around, they waiting for somebody to lead them in some type of action, some type of entertainment. You know, as soon as, you know, somebody start dancing, somebody starts playing some music, wherever that area is, and everybody flocks to that little area. Somebody start twerking or fighting, right? Everybody flocks to that area. All right.
Where's Dante going?
They over there. Goes up right there. Bullshit. On my camera. Right there, I was just on the bike.
So they trying to figure out what's going on. You know, there's no order, there's no structure of what's happening. You know, the helicopter wound up coming out, I'm pretty sure, you know, because they know, you know, where there's a crowd of YNs, you know, there's something bound to happen. All right. And Jake is, you know, these heathens, they you know, if it's one thing these heathens fear, you know, is a crowd of YNs. You know, they start clutching they pocketbooks. All right, you can see it in their face. They get scared as hell. Like, oh my God, look at these ninjas. And you know, if you in your right mind, you know, you do that with your own people as well. You know, like, oh shit, you know, you gotta brace yourself. You never know what's gonna happen. You know, you never know if one of these YNs is gonna try to show off for the crowd. You know, to get that attention, to, you know, to get those points, those cool points. You know, and anyways.
What's happening? They about to fight or like shake some ass, like what's up? Like they better be.
Look, see, that's all niggas follow. You know, ass shaking and some type of violence.
What happened? What they do? Wait, they shaking ass or they fighting? Oh, nah, nigga.
That shit's 30 with his phone, nigga. 0.5.
I gotta kick.
Hold on. All right, so you can basically get the point, right? I just wanted to show an example of a group of
No, nigga.
ninjas.
Because what if you got some gene and you
Right.
opening it to everybody? Now everybody
This is what
can
it
see.
looks like. And hold on. So it's a bunch of confusion going on. You got a bunch of scared people, you got a bunch of YNs, right? Who lacks experience in life. All right. Most of them probably sneaking, probably not even supposed to be where they at, right? They smoking weed, they doing drugs, you know, they probably nervous, you know, when you doing them drugs, they, you know, you can't handle it, how you paranoid, you know, so you got, you know, the helicopter, you know, you gotta be able to put yourself in you know, other people's shoes, right? Which us as prophets, you know, have the ability to do when it comes to our people, because, you know, we've been there, we've done that, you know, we've been in that same mentality, and we know what it's like to be out of order, all right, to be a YN, all right. And so, you know, you got a group of people that come together for, you know, a bunch of different things, right? Some people looking to you know, find a mate, find a date, all right. Some people looking to be entertained. Some people just, you know, following along, you know, just doing it just because everybody else doing it. Some people, you know, some YNs, you know, they looking to rob, they looking to scam, they looking to steal from somebody. Some people looking to sell some drugs. Some people looking to, you know, just get high, all right, or get drunk, all right. And so it's a crowd of confusion, and you got some of these young people afraid, paranoid, and you know, they start running, all right. And then, you know, and so the crowd, part of the crowd, they start running with them, and then part of the crowd like, what the fuck is going on? You know, it's a bunch of confusion, and that's what crowds bring. Very dangerous. All right, so I'm one more clip, right? Hold on. I think it's at 26. Yeah, here it go, right here, right? So I guess they don't left from where they was at, right? Trying to figure out, you know, where the wave at, right?
I'm from the lower, yeah. And we were.
And they wound up vlogging, you know, video recording, you know, themselves, you know, trying to find the next spot, the place where they gonna settle in, you know, had this meet and greet, whatever sort, right? And now they in the subway, right? You got a bunch of people packed in the subway, right?
Come follow.
You're too close.
Wait, all right. So these are my NYC YNs. Wait.
These are my NYC YNs, right? So she trying to get her a little couple seconds of fame. You know, she trying to get her little clout, her little attention, right? And you got these little disrespectful as YNs, right? Totally disorderly. Mind you, they in the small train little pathway.
Wait, that's trying to get my son.
Look, she almost got hit by the train.
Walk out here.
One with this wicked ass blonde wig on. Look, she on the yellow line, right? She could easily, right, because of this confusion, all right, the Lord could easily, you know, set the judgment. Let her get make somebody make a mistake, which would be on purpose through the spirit. Make somebody make a mistake and push push her on the train tracks. All right, easy deletion. All right, so very dangerous. Right, enter ye in at the straight gate that leads to life, and don't enter into the wide gate that leads to destruction. Right. This is Exodus chapter 23. Exodus 23, and I'll read from 1. It says, "Thou shalt not raise a false report. Put not thine hand with the wicked to be an unrighteous witness. Thou shalt not follow a multitude to do evil, neither shalt thou speak in a cause to decline after many, to wrest judgment," right? Meaning wrestle against judgment or that's what justice is, right? And justice is when, you know, a crime or a sin is committed, all right, and a proper judgment, a person is found guilty and judged appropriately based upon a sin that they committed. All right, when this happens, justice is served, and when it doesn't happen, all right, a person gets away with murder, all right, a clear-cut case, you know, a person caught red-handed, right, in the case of murder, and they get found not guilty. All right, that's what you call injustice. All right, and so this is what happened with Yahweh Shah. All right, this is what led to Yahweh Shah being crucified. All right, people following the multitude. All right, which led to the injustice of Yahweh Shah being crucified. All right, because matter of fact, let me grab this in the GNT, right? Exodus 23 in the GNT, right? It says, do not spread false rumors and do not help a guilty person by giving false testimony. Do not follow the majority when they do wrong or when they give testimony that perverts justice. Do not show partiality to a poor person at his trial. All right. Verse 3, neither shalt thou countenance a poor man in his cause. All right, so this is a warning, right? And this is a part of the law, statutes, and commandments. All right, thou shalt not raise a false report. All right, thou shalt not bear false witness. That's it's like the same thing. All right, you're not supposed to. It's wicked. It's a sin to take the stand. To say that you saw something happen and it didn't happen, or to say to testify. All right, to be a part of a jury. All right, in a trial. All right, and you deliberately, you might have got paid off. You deliberately throw the trial off, all right? Because if I'm not mistaken, it only takes for one of the jury members to not agree with the judgment of the majority. And let me see. Let me make sure. me see. Okay, in a criminal offense trial, all 12 jurors must agree on a judgment, whether it is a guilty verdict or otherwise, to reach a unanimous decision. If the jurors are unable to reach a unanimous verdict, the trial may result in a hung jury. Even if only one juror disagrees, a hung jury may occur. All right, so people, and this happens, all right, which can lead to injustice, all right. And if that one person throwing a trial off because you've been paid off, or for whatever, for whatever reason other than the reasoning being justified, you might honestly not have viewed the case, after all the evidence is presented. You might view, your judgment might be like, I don't think he's guilty. I don't care what the rest of the jury, what the other 11 say, right? I see your points that you're making, but I don't agree. All right. If it's not sincere, all right, and it says what? It says, thou shalt not raise a false report, put not thine hand with the wicked to be an unrighteous witness. All right. Thou shalt not follow a multitude. All right. So that's righteous. All right. Being sincere in your judgment. All right. But if you're a woman or a man, right, and the person that's on trial is the opposite sex, and you find them attractive, and they, you feel as though that, if you, they may have gave you the eye, y'all caught some type of you found some type of attraction to them. If you on some shit like, you plot on a plan to like kind of like hint at this person that you gonna help get them off, and you wind up seeing them after they set free, and now y'all go out on a date or whatever, right? Because of their attraction. That's wicked. Thou shalt not follow a multitude to do evil, neither shalt thou speak in a cause to decline after many, to wrestle against judgment. Neither shalt thou countenance a poor man in his cause, right? You can't judge a person. You can't have pity. You have to pass proper judgment. You can't judge a person as guilty because they look guilty or because they look poor. And you also, on the other side of that, you can't judge a person as innocent because you having sympathy on them because of a certain image that they present, because of certain face that they make. No, you have to go off of the facts that are presented, all right, and make a logical, sincere decision. One more time in the GNT. Do not spread false rumors, and do not help a guilty person by giving false testimony. And this is what they did with basically by choosing what's his name, Brabus, the sinner that I'm gonna just go into it. It says, do not follow the majority when they do wrong, or when they give testimony that perverts justice. Do not show partiality to a poor person at his trial, right? And so to be partial, right, existing only in part, incomplete, favoring one side in a dispute above the other, all right? That's where you get the term peer pressure. That's what temptation comes from, because the multitude, a crowd will be, their decision will be leaning in a certain way, all right? And for whatever reason, you find yourself making it difficult to make a sincere decision. Your mind, your spirit, your gut may be telling you, that this person is innocent, all right? But the lynch mob is leaning towards, guilty, all right? It says favoring one side in a dispute above the other, biased. All right, you may be for you may be a woman, not a womanizer, a feminist. All right, and you make your decision just based upon the person that's on trial being a woman. All right, and you all for women having second chances, or you base your decision, based on emotions. That's wicked. AI overview, right? False accusations against Yahweh Shah, right? It says during his trial, Yahweh Shah faced false accusations from religious leaders, including claims of blasphemy and sedition, and even attempts to find false witnesses to justify his death sentence, though these efforts ultimately failed. It says motivation of the accusers, the religious leaders, right? The scribes, the wicked scribes, Sadducees and Pharisees. All right, those, because our part of our culture, our heritage, was for judgments to be passed through the priesthood. All right, you had the priesthood, you had the judges, which went hand in hand, because judgments were meant to be made through the spirit. Spiritual decisions is how our people were to conduct trials or cases of sin. All right, what happened was the priesthood and the judicial system, our whole government, so to speak, became corrupt. All right, because our people were carnal. All right, and that's what the new covenant. That's what comes with the new covenant. That stony heart. All right, that hard-headed, carnal, ninja mentality being removed. All right, and us being changed into perfect bodies with a fleshly heart. A spiritual mentality, a spiritual mindset. All right, in which the laws will be programmed within. All right, to be in perfect sync with the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Shah. All right, in righteousness. It says the religious leaders, particularly the chief priests and the Sanhedrin, sought to discredit and eliminate Yahweh Shai because they perceived him as a threat to their authority and the established religious order. And you got the same thing today, all right, which is where is going to be a part of Jacob's trouble. The persecution of the church is going to be, again, just like old Rome, illegal to believe and teach and preach the things that we are allowed to now. All right, and this is heavily what influenced the fall of Rome. All right, and Pilate, he was set up as Pontius Pilate. He was set up as the governor over Jerusalem. All right, and he was having a difficult time with maintaining order amongst our people. All right, because of Yahweh Shah being on the scene. All right, and preaching the gospel. All right, and there was a whole, there was a bunch of uproars and riots because of what the gospel, of what was being taught through the gospel, which is basically in a nutshell, the whole system of things, all right, that our people were being ruled by, would be one day removed, and the kingdom of heaven would replace it. All right, the system and authority which was corrupt. All right, the priesthood, the priesthood, the sacrifices. All right, the whole system of things, right, was basically was about to be replaced. All right, and Yahweh Shai, being the son of the Most High, all right, manifesting in the flesh, all right, and preaching the gospel was a fulfillment of prophecy. All right, and so you had the way that things were being ran, all right, which was through corruption, through taxes, all right, through bribery, all right. The system was corrupt, but there was a lot of money being made through the corruption. All right, there was positions of power being filled, being granted. All right, through bribery. Okay, and so it was beneficial. The corruption was beneficial to a lot of people. All right, and the preaching of the gospel, the coming of Yahweh Shai, all right, the fulfillment of the Messiah being born, all right, walking the earth, preaching the gospel, being crucified and being resurrected. That whole prophecy fulfillment caused division. All right, you had sincere people who were tired of the corruption. All right, the injustices the injustices of the government. All right, we had been in and out of different captivity. We was, the curses start eating us up, and we were under, we went from being enslaved under the Assyrians, to the Medes, all right, to the Assyrians, the Babylonians, the Medes, the Persians, all right, the Greeks, all right, and then the Romans, all right. So we were dealing, and when we were under when we were being ruled over by these different nations, our way of life was being threatened. All right, our customs were being perverted. All right, we did things. We were used to living one way. We were commanded to keep the laws, statutes, and commandments, and specifically live our lives in one way, not worshiping the gods of these heathen nations. And these heathen nations, they would force their ways upon us, force us to, the whole Hellenization of the Jews under the Greeks, right? They forced us to eat swine's flesh. They forced us to worship their idols. All right, they made it, illegal to keep our laws, statutes, and commandments, to worship our God. All right, our temples were destroyed. All right, and so our people were tired of being oppressed, and those who were spiritually minded, all right, once Yahweh Shah was on the scene, they start rebelling against the powers that be, all right, the Roman government and the corrupt the corruption of the priesthood and the judges of our nation, all right, and they start rebelling, preparing themselves for the fulfillment of the kingdom of heaven to be established, because they thought that the kingdom of heaven was going to come about when Yahweh Shah was on the scene 2,000 plus years ago, all right. And so you had it caused division, spiritually, all right. Then you had assassins, you had hits being carried out. You had our people, the what is it, the Sakari, they were hitmen and carnal men, all right. They were looking to take matters into their own hands to stop this corruption, all right. They will come together in plans to fight back against the Roman government, with physical weapons, all right, through being carnal. And so this was a threat to the right. It says, because they perceived him as a threat to their authority and the established religious order, all right. So he was bad for business, all right. You had the temple being used for selling of our spirituality was being exploited, through and you had things being sold in the temple. The temple wasn't to be made a marketplace, all right. And that's why Yahweh Shah, he went flipping the tables, those tables, the one time when Yahweh Shah did get carnal, and because he was pissed off, he made him some type of weapon, and he started wilding. He was highly vexed, all right, because of the corruption. So he was bad for business. False accusations. Yahweh Shah blasphemy. Yahweh Shah was accused of blasphemy for claiming to be the Son of God and having the authority to forgive sins, which it was a false accusation, because he was in fact the Messiah, the Son of the one true and living God, Yahweh, all right. And his claim, was true. It says sedition. He was also accused of sedition, which is division or separation, right? For claiming to be a king and potentially inciting rebellion against Roman rule, all right. And so this would be, I think, called under the label of tyranny, all right, where basically, there's a government that's in power, and through your claims, you looking to overthrow the government, all right. You could be put to death for that charge. Let me see if is it tyranny. Salaki, I hate. Well, it is what it is. It's all of the spirit. Cruel or oppressive government or rule, a nation under rule or oppressive government. So this is the wrong word that I'm looking for. Damn, what's the word? No, not sedition. God damn it. Not insurrection. What's the word that I'm looking for? Treason. Treason, that's the word. Treason, Salakia. I'm glad I caught that. Treason, right? So he was being accused of treason. It says the crime of betraying one's country, which this, it wouldn't, technically it wouldn't have been. Well, yeah, you know, it wasn't tyranny, you know, as far as the Roman, it wasn't tyranny at all. I mean, treason. It wasn't treason at all. All right. And if it was viewed as treason, it's because there was the priesthood, there was the judicial system that was set up, that was, you know, running how, you know, it was because even though the Romans was ruling over us, they allowed us to have room to keep our laws, statutes, and commandments, our customs, our cultures. All right. You know, they you know, somewhat of grace. All right. And they would oversee the government that we you know, the way that we did things. All right. And, you know, they would exploit, because you know, before the Romans came into power, you know, especially under the Greeks, through Hellenization, you know, our power structure was already corrupt. And so the Romans, you know, they saw the corruption, all right, and they capitalized off of it. You know, just like today, you know, what's the term? Divided we stand to, united we stand, divided we fall, something like that. All right. That's a tactic used by Esau, you know, Shalakia, damn, what the fuck is the term? Divide and conquer, Salakia. Divide and conquer. All right. You separate, you know, you create as many differences. You know, you notice the differences between, you know, the individuals, a man and a woman, a tall person, a short person, a dark-skinned person, a light-skinned person. You know, this person live over here, this person live over here, this person make this type of money, this person don't make as much money. You know, take all of the differences and you capitalize off it. Divide and conquer. The crime of betraying one's country, especially by attempting to kill the sovereign or overthrow the government. The action of betraying someone or something. A crime of murdering someone to whom the murderer owed allegiance, such as a master or husband. Right. So there was a power system set up. All right. But Yahweh Shah was preaching of you know, a change in government that would be led by him. All right, as the king. Which wasn't a false claim. All right. Which wasn't a false claim. And you know, it's going to be proven. All right. The only thing is that the kingdom wasn't established back then. All right. And we're still waiting for the kingdom to be established, you know, because certain prophecies had to be fulfilled. But we at the end, the bitter end of this thing, you know, there's a handful of prophecies that need to be fulfilled before Yahweh Shah makes his second return. Sedition. He was also accused of sedition for claiming to be a king and potentially inciting rebellion against Roman rule, subverting the nation. The Jewish leaders claimed Yahweh Shah was subverting the nation, opposing Roman taxes, which that was a lie. Yahweh Shah said, "Render unto Caesar what is Caesar's." All right. He gave wisdom, you know, of using his world, but not abusing his world. All right. You know, to do what you got to do to keep yourself from getting in trouble while you being ruled over by your enemies. All right. But, you know, that don't, you know, without it perverting the spirit. All right. To the best of your ability. All right. And that's why we're not under the law. We're under mercy and grace. All right. But Yahweh Shai, you know, basically told us to pay our taxes. It says, in claiming to be Messiah, a king, violating the Sabbath. Yahweh Shai was accused of violating the Sabbath by healing people on the Sabbath, which the Jewish leaders defined as work, which Yahushua cut him on that, because what Yahushua said, I come not to destroy the law but to fulfill. All right, because our people were passing judgments, carnally, and that's what led to the corruption. Sin had seeped in to the government. All right, and Yahushua came to fix it. All right, he came to put the final he came to perfect the government, the law, our ways. All right, our people. Okay, he came to heal what that which was broken. All right, which our people were suffering the consequences of sin. All right, our people were suffering the consequences of worshiping these false gods which don't exist. All right, the gods of these heathen nations, and the curses coming upon our people. All right, it says, so what Yahushua said, right? Man is not, the Sabbath was created for man, not the Sabbath. All right, which until it had to take for Yahushua to come to gain this type of understanding. All right, and that the law is not supposed to rule over us. All right, we're supposed to use the law to rule, to keep us, to as a sign to keep ourselves in order and in sync with the perfect will of Yahushua, all right, and rule over all these other nations. It's not supposed to rule over us. All right, and the only thing that's supposed, and that's why Yahweh didn't want us to have a king. All right, and he warned us about the corruption that would come with having a mortal man, which was susceptible to sin, ruling over us. All right, but the law was put in place to keep us in order until Yahushua would come on the scene and perfect our people. All right, and perfect the law. So Yahushua was perfect. All right, he was innocent. All right, all the accusations against him, all right, were wrong. Okay, and he was put to death. He was crucified unjustly. All right, but it had to happen. All right, exactly how it happened. So they went as far as, looking to find false witnesses, people who will actually lie, take money to actually lie and agree to witnessing him committing certain false accusations. Attempts to find false witness. The Sanhedrin actively sought false witnesses to testify against Yahushua, but their attempts were unsuccessful because the testimonies were inconsistent and unreliable. Pilate's perspective. Even Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor, recognized the lack of merit in the accusations against Yahushua, stating, "I find no basis for your charges against him." Yahushua silence. That's it on that. So, right. So following the multitude, all right, is what led to Yahushua being crucified, Yahushua being deleted. So this is the account, all right, John 19 and 1. It says, "Then Pilate therefore took Yahushua and scourged him, and the soldiers plaited a crown of thorns and put it on his head, and they put on him a purple robe and said, 'Hail, King of the Jews!' And they smote him with their hands, Pilate therefore went forth again and said unto them, Behold, I bring him forth to you, that ye may know that I find no fault in him. Then came Yahushua forth, wearing a crown of thorns and the purple robe. And Pilate said unto them, Behold the man. When the chief priests, therefore, and officers saw him, they cried out, saying, Crucify him, crucify him. Pilate saith unto them, Take ye him and crucify him, for I find no fault in him. All right, so Pilate didn't want anything to do with it, all right, because he didn't see a logical reason for him to be crucified, all right, but yet he didn't stop it. So Matthew 27, it says in 16, it says, and they had then a notable prisoner called Barabbas, all right, which notable is like a famous or a well-known person, all right, and which infamous is being well known for crime, evil, okay, or what you would call a career criminal, a person who's known for catching charges, all right, which Barabbas, he was that's what he was. He was a person who was known for catching charges, a sinner basically, right? It says, verse 17, therefore when they were gathered together, Pilate said unto them, Whom will ye that I release unto you, Barabbas or Yahushua, which is called Hamashiach? For he knew that for envy they had delivered him. All right, so he knew that they was wrong for looking to get him crucified. All right, but he was corrupt. All right, and so he was looking to gain favor with the priesthood, with the order of things when it came to our people. All right, he was looking to exploit the corruption. All right, and so he didn't stop, even though he saw he didn't find Yahushua to be guilty. He still allowed for him to be crucified. It says, for he knew that for envy, which envy and hate go hand in hand, all right, and it's a sin, all right, it's wickedness, all right. Envy basically is to not like a person, all right, or want to see something happen to a person, because of something that don't make sense. They might have something that you don't have. You've been working for a certain amount of time to get something that they easily got, all right. And that's and we all have to fight against that, which is demons, those spirits, that cause you to, not like a person for no reason. All right, that's why the scriptures say, if it be possible, be at peace with all men. The scriptures is full of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, to help us, think properly, which is what makes us civilized, which is what, in this world of confusion where we're taught, what to think, which is the wrong way to think, all right? The scriptures teaches us, how to think, properly, all right? And it gives you, mental order and stability, all right? And you learn, that it's wrong to not like a person just because you don't understand, where they come from. You don't understand the energy, you got people that are afraid, and they might even actually hate being around like midgets or people that's autistic or that got Down syndrome, and they would mock them, they'll make fun of them, they act, don't touch me, they act like they so disgusted with them, You know, they would actually hate these people because for no logical reason. You know, and a person to be in a position of power, and because they don't smile, they don't, they may be a stoic, and so they don't smile as much as you would like for a person. They don't, their energy intimidates you, and so I don't like him. I don't. It's just something about him, or something about I don't, right? And that leads to a person being hated. And so Yahweh Shai, he was claiming to be the son of the Most High, which he was, and it will be proven that his claim was true once he makes his second return. But you had people that was falsely judging him, and looking at him like, oh, he come from Nazareth, like what good come out of Nazareth? Like, he ain't, look at him, look at what he doing, he ain't no, right? And he was put to death because of this, for false judgments. Verse 19, it says, when he was set down on the judgment seat, his wife, Pontius Pilate's wife, right, sent unto him, saying, have thou nothing to do with this just man? For I have suffered many things this day in a dream because of him. All right. And so, Yahushua was such a, heavy person through the spirit. His spirit holds so much authority and weight, that people were dreaming about him. All right. They may have dreamt about, they may have dreamt a vision of seeing him with a crown on his head, and on top of a spaceship, coming out of the heavens. All right. And that dream, that vision was so, felt so real that a person, they just automatically nah, I think you need to leave him alone. I think, he is who he's saying, who he's claiming to be. All right. Nothing good is going to come out of passing a false judgment on this person. All right. But the point is, right, that the multitude is what led to Yahushua being crucified. You would have certain people that were in the crowd that was for his defense, but wouldn't speak up, because there was more people that wanted to see him be put to death. All right. And so, you would like Peter, right? Peter denied Yahushua 3 times. All right. Because prophecy had to be fulfilled. All right. And also he was in fear of being next, as far as being crucified for being one of them, being found to be someone who promoted his campaign, so to speak. So back in Exodus 23, right, it says, do not spread false rumors, and do not help a guilty person by giving false testimony. All right. So Barabbas, he was a known sinner. All right. And the multitude of our people chose to have an innocent man crucified. All right. Over a man who is known to be guilty. All right. A sinner. And if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that inspired Barabbas to repent. I could be wrong on that, Salakia. That might have been something that I saw on one of these shows based upon these events, all right, which they go off. So Salakia. It says, it's Salakia if I'm wrong. It says, do not follow the majority when they do wrong. And the majority is often doing wrong, making wrong decisions. It says, or when they give testimony that perverts justice, do not show partiality to a poor person at his trial. So it's instruction to, you know, basically pass proper judgment. All right. So okay. Let me see. A little more and I'm gonna close out. All right. So I showed the example of a crowd of ninjas. All right, and a multitude, which, you know, is unwise to follow. You know, the multitude. This is Matthew 24:5. Remember that word many. It says, "For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Hamashiach, and shall deceive many." All right, and so there's a great deception happening. All right, and there's going to be an even greater deception happening. All right, by way of that microseed. Many people are going to be deceived in receiving that microseed. All right, that MOTB, that marketers beast-like system, which will be the device that will the action required to be conformed to the image of the beast, which is the new world order. All right, you take that microseed. All right, you're allowing, you're agreeing. All right, you're physically making the oath. You're physically, you know, it's like it's like a blood contract. All right, you receiving that microseed is you allowing you basically you saying that you're down, you're all for this new world order system. You're all down for Esau, Edom, the nation of so-called white man. All right, and these nations that are in rulership with him to you're all for the plans of all nations coming together as one nation. So it don't matter if you're an Israelite, it don't matter if you're African, it don't matter if you a so-called white man. Your nationality doesn't matter, and we are now one people. All right, and this is the way that we want life to be. This is the way that we want the government to be ran, which is against the will of Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shah. All right, all you gotta do is go to the example of the Tower of Babel. All right, that's a clear-cut case, if you know, proving that if the Most High, the one true and living God, was in agreement of all nations being one people, why would he break up the languages? All right. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, which this is literal as well as figuratively speaking. All right, because you literally have people saying that, you know, making claims of being Jesus Christ, which that's not the true name of the Messiah. All right, which only the elect will stand 10 toes down and reject that, you know, anyone claiming to be the Messiah. All right, just for that one thing alone, you know, the name. Like, first of all, if you are the Messiah, you gotta get your fucking name right. All right, but you have people actually saying that they're Jesus Christ, and then you have people, right, because Christ means savior. All right, Hamashiach, all right, in the Hebrew, all right, which anyone looking to save our people, to lead our people into a better way of life, all right, which many people have attempted, all right, and deceived, you know, many people, you know, and you know, the scripture, the leaders of this people have caused them to err. All right, time and time after again, our leaders, you know, that's why this Israelite movement is the last thing moving. This is the leadership that's going to lead to our people being set free, to our people being saved. All right, which cannot happen until Yahweh Shai, the true Messiah, all right, the true Savior of the nation of Israel, of the elected nation of Israel, crack the clouds, making a second return and physically saving the chosen, all right, the elect of the 12 tribes of Israel. All right, those who will not be deceived, all right, and believing that anyone else, all right, can lead them to a better way of life, to lead them from being free from the oppression of our enemies. Our people don't even know that we have fucking enemies. Our people think that the enemies, our enemies are our own people. You know, not one of the people on the list of ops of our people is actual people who belong to heathen or Gentile nations. You know, it's always our people. You know, you got a plan to do something to 10 people, and all these people is so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians. But right, again, following the many, following the multitude, all right, entering at the wide gate, all right, will lead you to being deceived, and through being deceived, it will lead you to being deleted. One more, and then I'm gonna close out. This is Matthew 22 and 14. It says, "For many are called, but few are chosen." All right, you got the 1/3 and 2/3. All right, you got only the nation of Israel has the opportunity of being repenting repenting from their sins. All right, preparing themselves for the day of the Lord's judgment, rehearsing righteous acts, keeping the law, statutes, commandments to the best of their ability. All right, making their calling and election sure. All right, only the nation of Israel can receive salvation once Yahweh Shah makes his second return. All right, and you know, it's not about what you look like. All right, and that's why you have the tares and the parable of the tares and the wheats. You know, those that may look like Israelites will be separated from the true Israelites. All right, those, all right, and you're gonna have people that don't look like Israelites that will be saved because their spirit and their bloodline through their father, all right, on top of them being the elect, all right, they will be found to be part of the elect of the nation of Israel, those who are worthy of salvation. So only the nation of Israel is going to be saved, and only the elect of the nation of Israel is going to be saved. All right, but what? Hold up. No. Hold up, Slocky, what was it that I had? Salakia. Okay, so back in Matthew 7, right? Enter ye in at the straight gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction, and many there be which go in thereat, because straight is the gate and narrow is the way which leadeth unto life, and few there be that find it. Beware of false prophets which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. Ye shall know them by their fruits, right? Their actions and the things that they teach. All right. Do men gather grapes of thorns or figs of thistles? All right. And so this is where you going. This is one of the signs of how you know who the false prophets are. All right, because they will, they will mimic a crowd of ninjas, a crowd of those following the multitude to do evil. Okay, and so fair use again, right? Let's, this is an extension of, right, showing you a group of ninjas, those Israelite foreigners, those who are not truly in sync with Yahweh Shem Shah, not calling upon the true names, not teaching the right things, not keeping the customs, the cultures and the customs properly the way that it's supposed to be kept. All right, and so this is an example, right? I put in IUIC Party 2023. All right, which the Passover is a solemn assembly. Is a very serious holy day, high holy day. All right, and some of these things that I'm going to show you, these examples, you are not never supposed to see this when the Passover is being conducted. All right, but so you have these camps that are led by false prophets. All right, they have large numbers. They have very large numbers. All right, it's a lot of women in their congregation. All right, they have matching garments, which is nothing. There's nothing wrong with, in a sense. All right, matching garments, but these garments, certain garments, they make merchandise. You could just see that these are the same people that were a part of that was exploiting the corruption of the government, of the priesthood and the government of our people. All right, in the ancient days. All right, making merchandise of the truth. All right, selling garments, selling breakdowns. All right, inviting, turning the Passover into a party. So, right. And this is something that you would see at a concert. All right. What is the purpose of this? Of these actions during the time of the Passover? All right. This is a sign that they're not right. Look, a concert. They rapping and shit. And these garments, cost, they cost a certain amount of money. All right. You could just tell from their presentation that they're all about money. Passover 2024 recap. They having a good time. The lamb dinner, they got shape ups. And they're supposed to be so big on the law. Look, when brothers eat too fast on Passover.
Yo, chill, bro. We not in Egypt. You don't gotta eat that fast no more, right?
I gotta eat in haste, my brother. Scriptures say eat in haste. But if it is both,
nah, bro. You got it, bro.
And it's supposed to be funny. All right, you making mockery of, you know, you got, you know, they both IUIC. One is trying to tell him that he don't gotta eat the lamb in haste, all right, the unleavened bread in haste, all right. You got brothers saying that you don't gotta eat the bitter herbs. You could eat something that, you know, that tastes better, that's not so bitter, all right, like some fucking romaine lettuce, all right. And then, you know, you got this other brother, this other guy who's opposing to be a brother, right? Basically, what she said the right thing, but, you know, as it seems, he's insincere. You gotta eat in haste. When she's right, that's biblical, that's scripture, that's right according to the scriptures, all right. But you supposed to, that's really what it is. You're not supposed to be, you know, because they could be trying to be funny, all right, and call themselves mocking or making fun of brothers who are keeping the Passover the right way, such as the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone, who are big on doing things the right way, following protocol. All right. Yahweh Shah said, "If you love me, keep my commandments." All right. You don't. You know, like the scriptures say, you shall know them by their fruits. All right. And when you understand the truth, when you read it for yourself, and you put it in perspective, you know, you can just see the total differences between these camps who are led by false prophets and the camps who are led by the true prophets. All right.
You got it. I'm done. I'm walking away.
Hey, no more, man. It's Lord bathroom.
I think that was enough, right? That was enough proof on that. Now, so I showed you, you know, 2 examples of a group of ninjas. All right, now I'm gonna show you a group of brothers. All right. Hold up. Let me see. All right, right. Now, this is Passover 2023 GMS Chicago. All right. And you know, brothers got, it's a congregation. It's a nice amount of brothers. All right. But look at the order. You know, look at the difference. All right. Hold on. Let me get a good clip. You know, this room. Hold on. All right, so this room, I'm trying to get a good view. All right, this room is nowhere near as big as the halls that these other camps use. All right, there's a significant amount of brothers, but you know, you don't see any women, you don't see any dancing, you don't see any concerts. All right, brothers is in a serious stoic spirit. All right, mentality. All right. Good edification is coming out. All right, there isn't any distractions. Everybody's on one accord. All right, and even when you take this crowd of men, all right, and you compare it to a crowd of ninjas, all right, or these camps that are off, being led by false prophets, the numbers is totally different. All right, there's way more few of brothers, you know, even though it might be 100 brothers together. All right, you might have a Passover of 1,000 men, women, and children. All right, which is totally different. Okay, so this is one example, right, of a group of brothers. Hold on, trying to get a good view of the room. Damn. Hold up. Is it right here? So this the front of the room. I think it's gonna pan like towards the back.
Only showing the history, right? What did it say next? He has not dealt so with any nation. See, he has not dealt so with any nation. And as far and for his judgment, they have not known them. Praise ye Yahweh. It's only for
Can't get it. Okay, here you go. All right, so right, a group of brothers. All right, that's a nice, decent, apartment, living room size. You know, probably a little bit bigger. All right, that's probably some type of hall. All right, but the whole thing is filled. All right, but it's nowhere near compared to the numbers that these other camps have, and that's because you know there's women and children amongst that congregation. All right, when the men of the Lord from Great Millstone come together, you know, you might have a brother bring his son that's 12, 13, 14 years old. You know, he might have 2 or 3 sons. All right, he's training up his child, you know, the proper way to go. But you might have a couple. It's not going to be a lot of brothers that's going to bring their children. Most brothers is not going to bring children, and they definitely not bringing women. All right, they definitely not bringing the whole family. All right, like it's a party. Okay. Right. After camp lesson. Right.
all right.
Hold on. Get a good view. All right. You know, this is a group of brothers. It's a total different spirit. All right, Salakia. This simple video is stretching out, but you know, I believe it's edifying. Lord willing, be edifying to someone else. And that's pretty much it. You know, I don't gotta
and I cast out. They push. Give me.
Ain't nobody twerking. Ain't nobody fighting. All right.
And you can start at the first verse.
Ain't no women. Okay, which you know, there's nothing wrong with having a family. You know, there are women that believe, but they are instructed to stay at home, to be quiet. You know, not having a fashion, being a part of a fashion contest or a sewing contest. All right, breakdancing or whatnot. You know, all that folly. So, Lord willing, this is edifying. I gotta use the bathroom, bad as hell now. All right. So Shalom, Yahweh Shem, Shabbat Shem, Kakwadash. Once again, double honor to the apostles, bishops, and others of Great Millstone. And yeah, back to the title. You know, a group of ninjas versus a group of brothers.